The army that shouldn't have one did. An untrained mass of peasants, minor nobles, and rival lords, marching thousands of miles into hostile territory, captured one of the most fortified cities in the medieval world. And they did it without a king, without a unified command, and without any real plan. This is the story of the First Crusade, not as a myth, not as a triumphalist tale, but as the improbable, chaotic, almost accidental victory that reshaped Europe and the Middle East for centuries. In 1095, Europe is a continent of small feuding realms, petty wars, and famine. The papacy and the Holy Roman Empire are locked in a bitter struggle for supremacy. Most common people never travel more than 20 miles from home. So when Pope Urban II steps forward at the Council of Clermont and calls for a holy war to reclaim Jerusalem, nobody expects tens of thousands to respond. Yet they do. Urban's words spread like wildfire, not because they are unprecedented, but because they offer something Europe desperately lacks. Purpose, pilgrimage, but armed, forgiveness of sins, adventure, and for many nobles, land and opportunity in a world of dwindling inheritance. But there's a problem. Almost no one knows what they're doing. The first wave of the crusade isn't an army. It's a wandering mass. Most of us picture armored knights riding east. But the First Crusade begins not with knights, but with peasants, led by a barefoot preacher named Peter the Hermit. Tens of thousands follow him. Farmers, craftsmen, entire families. They have no supplies, no discipline, no military leadership. And as they move through Eastern Europe, chaos follows. They clash with locals. They plunder when hungry. They misinterpret signs and rumors as divine signals. By the time they reach Byzantine territory, Emperor Alexios I has had enough. He ships them across the Bosphorus, fast. And there, in Anatolia, they're wiped out, ambushed and destroyed by the Seljuk Turks before any real crusading army arrives. This disaster becomes an omen. The crusade is doomed, everyone says so. But this is where the Real Crusade begins. In 1096 to 1097, the armies of Europe finally reach Constantinople. But armies is a generous term. These are feudal bands led by ambitious nobles who barely tolerate one another. Among them, Godfrey of Bouillon, a pious but politically calculating lord from the Holy Roman Empire. Raymond of Toulouse, older, wealthier, and determined to lead the crusade himself. Bohemond of Taranto, brilliant, ruthless, and with ambitions far beyond Jerusalem. Tancred, his fiery nephew, eager for glory. They don't arrive as a unified force. They arrive as competitors. And the Byzantine Emperor Alexios, who thought he invited a small, controlled fighting force, suddenly finds tens of thousands of heavily armed Westerners camped outside his capital. He demands oaths of loyalty. They reluctantly agree, mostly to get the supplies they need. And then the crusade marches into Anatolia, where the People's Crusade has already been annihilated. The Crusaders expect the same fate. And yet, luck is about to swing their way. The Seljuk Sultan Kilij Arslan is confident. He crushed the first wave with ease. So he rides away, assuming the new arrivals are just more peasants. He is wrong. The Crusader Knights smash his forces at the Battle of Dorylaeum, surviving what should have been a devastating ambush. They then surround Nicaea, his capital. For weeks they fight, but behind the scenes, the Byzantines secretly negotiate the city's surrender. When it finally falls not to the Crusaders, but to the Emperor. A victory, but also an embarrassment, and a warning that the Crusade's allies are also its rivals. Still, with Nicaea taken, the road to the heart of Anatolia lies open. Unexpected victory number 1. What happens next becomes one of the most brutal marches of the Middle Ages. The Crusaders cross the Anatolian plateau, hundreds of miles of barren, scorching land. Men collapse from heat. Horses die in the dozens. Armies fragment. Desertion becomes constant. The Seljuks harass them but fail to deliver a killing blow. Luck? Perhaps. But more often, it is discipline, something many assume medieval armies lacked. The Crusaders keep moving, because behind them lies death by dehydration. And ahead lies the city of Antioch. They don't know it yet, but Antioch will decide the fate of the crusade. Antioch is enormous. Massive walls, towering fortifications. Inside, thousands of defenders. The Crusaders are not prepared for a siege. They lack siege engines, engineers, and food. Winter is coming, and supplies trickle in too slowly. Starvation sets in. Men eat leather, grass, whatever they can find. Some desert, and are dragged back and executed. Morale plummets. Then, at the lowest point, something remarkable happens. A small group of Armenians, familiar with Antioch's politics, contact Bohemond. They offer him an inside deal. One night, a tower door opens. Bohemond's men climb the walls. The Crusaders pour through. And after 8 horrific months, Antioch falls. But one day later, yes, one day, another army arrives. The Muslim Relief Army. Now the Crusaders, starving and exhausted, are trapped inside the city they just captured. It should have been the end. But instead, the crusade experiences its strangest turn. Inside Antioch, morale collapses again. But a monk named Peter Bartholomew claims to have had a vision. St. Andrew revealed where the Holy Lance, the spear that pierced Christ's side, is buried. Whether true or convenient is debated even then. But the relic is found, and suddenly, belief surges through the army. Combined with desperation, that belief becomes a weapon. The Crusaders charge out of Antioch's gates in a wild, improbable assault on the much larger relief army. And to everyone's shock, they win. Not through miracle, but through something far more mundane. Their opponent's disorganization. Still, to the Crusaders, it feels like divine intervention. The crusade has survived its darkest hour. After Antioch, something unexpected happens. The crusade slows down. Leaders argue over who should rule Antioch. Bohemond stays behind, claiming it for himself. Others continue without him. By the time the remaining Crusaders approach Jerusalem in 1099, their once massive army has dwindled to a fraction of its original size. They face not just external enemies, but internal fatigue, disease, and uncertainty. Yet fortune favors them once again. Jerusalem is defended, yes, but not nearly as well as it could have been. A change in leadership, regional rivalries, and misjudgment leave the city undermanned. Still, the walls are formidable. The Crusaders need siege engines. They have no wood. But the local Fatimid rulers, thinking the Crusaders cannot possibly take the city, do not burn the surrounding forests. And within weeks, the Crusaders build massive towers and battering rams. A chain of luck and miscalculation is about to converge. On July 15, 1099, the Crusaders launch their assault. 2 siege towers, archers raining arrows, priests chanting, desperate defenders fighting for their lives. At one point, the battle seems lost. Then, a group of Crusaders from Normandy reach a weak point in the defenses. They lower a plank. They cross the wall. Jerusalem has fallen. A victory that should have been impossible becomes reality. Historians debate the reasons, but the most accepted factors are these. 1. Muslim political fragmentation. The Seljuk Empire was divided. Rival cities and emirs refused to cooperate. 2. Byzantine support, sometimes indirect. Maps, ships, supplies, and tactical knowledge gave the Crusaders advantages at key moments. 3. The Crusaders' unusual discipline. Despite chaos, starvation, and infighting, their core of knights remained remarkably cohesive in battle. 4. Geography and timing. They arrived when local powers were distracted by internal conflicts. 5. The power of belief. Whether divine or psychological, morale mattered. And after Antioch, Crusader morale soared while their enemies doubted. No single piece is enough. Only all of them combined. Luck, timing, resolve, mistakes. Explain how the crusade that shouldn't have succeeded did. The First Crusade reshaped the medieval world. New Crusader states emerged. Trade routes expanded. Ideas flowed, violently and peacefully. And for centuries, crusading became a defining force in European politics and identity. The echoes of these events shaped Christian and Muslim relations, Middle Eastern geopolitics, and European expansion for generations. A victory born not of invincibility, but of contingency. A reminder that sometimes the most unlikely events leave the deepest marks on history.